anymore that want to fight, because to fight means almost certain death. So your best shot at this point is to take the money that you get out of the Three Stooges that met with Zelensky or from Washington and put it against mercenaries. And that's something the CIA, MI6, Mossad are very good at doing, and that's probably who's honchoing that operation. It's over. The end is here. So I think that's the first part. Second part is, first of all, I really tire of this word democracy, because we're not a democracy. We're a republic. We have democratic features and attributes, but we are preeminently a republic. So, by the way, is Ukraine. Our friend Zelensky has been the de facto Stalinist-style dictator of Ukraine now for a long time. And his argument, which is not unreasonable, by the way, is if he's going to pursue the open-ended extreme policies that he has to be a dictator. So it's interesting that President Trump now says this. Now, what we ought to do, and you guys have a great staff, you know how to do this, is go back and listen to what President Trump says over the last several years. And I remember him appearing in front of a rally back in, I guess this would have been 24, talking to one of the MAGA rallies and saying, how about that guy Zelensky? He's a really tough, courageous guy, isn't he? And he gets one of these, and ooh, you know, most Americans were smart enough at that point to figure out this is a scam. Look how long it's taken President Trump to finally come around to the truth. The whole thing is a scam. It never had any chance of success. It was an artificial construct hatched in Washington and London primarily, and to a lesser extent in Israel, to essentially harm Russia. What an utterly dumb and stupid idea. In the meantime, he neglects to point out we're at 38 trillion and counting. We're continuing to print. We can't really borrow very much anymore, Dan. Nobody wants to loan us much money. So we're just printing, quantitative easing over and over and over again, debasing the currency. So all of this has to be, all of these events and his comments on Zelensky, it all has to be viewed in that context. Well, he's worth over $1 billion. He has cash in multiple accounts across Europe and probably the Caribbean and places elsewhere in the world. So I guess he's come to terms with his betrayal of the Ukrainian people and nation. You know, I've often said the man is not a Ukrainian, never was. He comes into this as a result of an oligarch, Kolomoisky, who is now in jail, and other influences in Washington, New York City, and Israel. And he had many opportunities to step up and say exactly that and point out that it was in Ukraine's interest to have peace. Now, people make excuses for Zelensky, Dan. They say, well, he's got these neo-Nazis there. Well, Kolomoisky, who put him into power effectively, has also funded all of these neo-Nazi organizations. By the way, Kolomoisky, like Zelensky, is Jewish. And these people are sporting Nazi symbols. They have funded these neo-Nazi organizations. I mean, they're clowns. Come on. Just because you put on a Nazi symbol from 80 years ago doesn't make you anything. But that sort of thing is what they love to sport, and it has been useful in terms of mobilizing Ukrainian hatred against Russia, because there are a lot of people there that still don't believe that Russia is any different from what it was 80 years ago. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It doesn't make any sense, but it's what President Trump needs to do is end this. Stop the flow of money and arms of any kind. Get us out. Get all of the intelligence operatives and agents, get all the military personnel out of Ukraine. Halt this nonsense. Everybody's been involved in this, from Cavoli and Supreme Commander Europe all the way down into the lowest possible level with captains and sergeants and special operations. Just get them out. Put an end to this. It's been an enormous failure. But I don't think he's going to do it. Well, we've contributed enormously to the corruption in Ukraine. Let's be frank. And as was pointed out earlier, the numbers of people inside the Washington Beltway, the financial interests that supported President Trump for re-election or for election, especially the major billionaire donors, all have stake or stakes in what's been going on in Ukraine. I think that has had an impact on President Trump and slowed his readiness or willingness to walk away. But let's go back to some realities. Having talked to President Trump on a couple of occasions, and this particular subject came up, and I'm talking about NATO and Germany and so forth. This is a man who has always understood from the beginning, we need to get out of Europe. We need to cut our losses in this whole campaign and get out. He understands that. He understands that our relationship with Russia, with Moscow, is far, far more important than anything happening in Kiev. He understands those things. But he's one of these people who can entertain two diametrically opposed opinions at the same time in his mind. This is not someone, contrary to popular belief, who's very decisive. Well, why would he be? He doesn't know anything about that region of the world. And the people that he surrounded himself with aren't going to help him because they're all there to ensure he stays. You know, why send Witkoff and Kushner to talk to President Putin? Why? They have no authority. They have no credentials. They're just friends of the president? You know, why not send Secretary of State Rubio? Well, I think we know why. Because Rubio is dedicated to the proposition that this must go on, that whatever harms Russia is good. This is a card-carrying neocon. Witkoff and Kushner may be friends, but they're just interested in making money. So there's no great stake in these other matters. But the Secretary of State, that's a different matter entirely. And look at the people that he wants around the president. They're bad news. These are people that will keep us embroiled and immersed in conflict and war with everybody on the planet for decades. So the president not only is entertaining two diametrically opposed opinions in his mind at the same time, he's surrounded for the most part, even in his inner circle, with people who are absolutely disastrous for the United States, disastrous for the cause of peace, disastrous for the survival of our country and its economy. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I mean, listening to President Trump, and I like President Trump. I think he's a good human being, and I think he has good intentions. I don't think he's mean-spirited at all. And I think when he talks, he's being honest. But the problem is that's not enough. You have to move away from this confusion and put your money on what you really believe and think. And I think he's close to it. And I think that's what Don Jr. was trying to get to. But he's not there yet.
It doesn't.
I understand there's a 15-point version of the same plan that currently hangs in the men's room of the Kremlin. And people visiting the men's room are being invited to add any additional points that they think are useful. So that's where I would put the 15, 28, 20, whatever the point plan that we've set forth probably belongs. President Putin was kind enough to meet with Witkoff and Kushner. And of course, after that 5-hour meeting, nothing really emerged. And I don't think anything is going to emerge. The Russians are in the driver's seat. They have militarily won this war. They're cleaning up the battlefield, frankly, at this point. You still have a few hundred Ukrainian troops down in Pokrovsk. There are other pockets of Ukrainians in various places. And they've been offered the opportunity to surrender. And I think they should. Maybe they will, but if they don't, they'll be annihilated. And then the Russians will consolidate what they've got, and then they will move forward. I think Odessa is very much on the agenda right now because Odessa is this open wound. We and others continue to funnel not just equipment, military equipment and ammunition and so forth into Odessa. I'm told we're also clandestinely pushing mercenaries into Odessa. And in fact, there are a lot of mercenary troops that are being captured right now on the battlefield in Ukraine. They're not finding very many Ukrainians